It gets frustrating sometimes. When is normal coming back? The truth is, the same normal may never return. We're in a transition period right now to a new normal. And that's part of why it's uncomfortable. Some of you may have read the book Finding Yourself in Transition by Robert Brummett. It's a guide to using the changes we experience in life to enhance our spiritual awakening. He explains that when change happens, especially deep or sudden, unexpected change, it challenges and even shatters the understandings we've created to make sense of the world. You see, we each have developed meanings as roadmaps of reality that guide us through the journey of life. Change will often take us into new territory where the old maps no longer work for us. It's no surprise that we might feel a bit lost in this place between what was before and what's coming next. The world in general and many of our individual lives are quite different from how they were at the beginning of the year. There was a time before this year when nobody had ever heard of COVID-19 and debates on whether or not to wear a mask in public. It wasn't even thought of. We came together at church on Sundays as we chose to. We could not have even imagined a world where we would be asked to gather each week online only. Sometimes we might find ourselves wishing for things to go back to what normal used to be. It may be starting to dawn on some of us that there is no going back, at least not to that normal. There is a new normal, but it's not here yet. We're in that space of transition. And it's not just COVID. There have been protests and riots and people asking us to choose between either supporting the police or supporting them. What a choice. What do we do if we want to support both? We've heard of some cities that are right in the center of this conversation and the uncertainty that it brings to both those residents as well as the rest of the country. And then there's all those fires. We're fortunate in Modesto that the worst of it for most of us was some really bad air. Some places and some people's lives have been profoundly transformed, and they are still trying to sort out just how to be with it all. This is what a season of large-scale change looks like. It's not personal at all, and yet it affects each of us very personally. How in the world can anyone meet such times with ease and grace? Here are 3 things we can do. First, acceptance. Accepting the situation as it's presenting in this moment, and accepting ourselves and our current responses to it in this moment. Second is faith. Faith that whether we understand why this is happening or not, that there is a divine order. And that in spite of appearances from moment to moment, this is what is playing out. Third is prayer. More than ever, a practice of prayer and meditation is essential at times such as these. When change comes, especially one that's unexpected or unwanted, it's natural for us to resist it. We didn't ask for it, we didn't vote for it, and we don't want it. Thanks, but no thanks. When COVID came along, it brought sweeping changes to our way of life. Many jobs changed from commuting to staying at home. Some jobs were lost and have still not been recovered. All of a sudden, face-to-face social contact with our family and closest friends was supposed to be a bad thing to do. We had to either be extra careful shopping, or have groceries delivered. Even getting together at church was temporarily suspended. So many changes all of a sudden. And of course, there were people that have resisted the whole idea of it, and some still are. Most people that come down with COVID will recover from it, but it's nothing to sneeze at, so to speak. And whether we believe in the seriousness of it or not, it's part of this period of change that the world is experiencing. So maybe for now we might need to pay a bit more attention to the people we're around or the stores we're shopping in, or when it's okay or not to eat at a restaurant or gather together at church, at least for this moment. Yet we do have choices, just like at any time of change. Whether we see the need for masks and precautions or whether we find the whole thing to be blown out of proportion, there are changes taking place that demand a response from us. The world is not the same place as it was. We can try denying it. We can struggle and fight with it. We could insist on doing everything the way that we've always done it, because that's the way we've always done it. We could choose to meet this time of change with our heels dug in and attempt to arm wrestle with the order of the universe. We could shout at God and say, "It's my way or the highway, God, so get with it." Good luck with that. We could also consider choosing a different path. I'll give you a hint. Every time I've tried arguing or fighting with the universe, I was the one who ended up having to give in. Maybe you've had different results, but that's been my experience. So let's start with accepting what is. As I was working on this talk, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. I felt sad when I heard about it. I felt angry that for whatever reason it happened now, less than 2 months before the election. I recognize both of these feelings as normal manifestations of grief. I also had a short rant at the universe. Really? Really? Is this how it's going to be? I then had to accept two things. I had to accept that my feelings about her passing were perfectly okay to be having as a human being experiencing grief. And that, yes, this is the way it is, like it or not. For me not to accept my current feelings, I'd be adding injury to myself and an additional struggle of guilt or shame about feeling grief. I'd be feeling bad about feeling bad. And that wouldn't be helpful at all. Instead, I chose to look at myself with the eyes of spirit and find compassion for a human being who is hurting. I find that such practices bring the beginnings of peace. The second part of finding ease and grace during times of transformation is faith. If everything and everyone is somehow a manifestation of the one, then I can trust that there is a divine order here somewhere. I lean on this faith whether I understand what's happening or not, and whether, in my little opinion, the path being taken by the universe at large is a good idea or not. This can be challenging when some of the changes going on affect us personally. Faith is a muscle that is best built up when times are less difficult, so that it can better handle the more challenging times. It takes a good working relationship of trust in divine order when we see a hurricane flatten a town, or a fire burn down a city, or a riot threaten peace. Even then, a more personal, abrupt change can catch us off guard, and we may find ourselves floundering for a bit. Our faith then becomes a searchlight that guides us safely home. After accepting that Ruth Bader Ginsburg was gone, and accepting myself as a human being that was having a grief response and in need of compassion, I could then begin a process of letting go. I can remind myself that in spite of the appearance of individual events, that I have no idea where all this is heading. I can remind myself that I trust that there is a divine order and that there is only one mind at work here and one reality taking place. During a time of prayer and meditation, a third step to finding ease and grace in transformation, I realized that some of the sadness I was feeling was grief about the vision I had for how things should go. In my dream of how things should be, after all of her perseverance, Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have gotten her wish to make it through the next election. In my dream of how things should be, it should have gone a different way. My dream is part of the one mind, as is yours. But in this instance, my preferred picture was not in alignment with how all the pieces are actually unfolding. My only choice here, if I want to one more be at peace with what is to let go. And then let go again and again. There are many people in pain right now as they are rudely awakened from their preferred dreams of how life should go, of how this country should be, and how people should be treating one another. One way to look at 2020 so far is a big wake-up call. There are people shouting that they refuse to be treated unfairly anymore. And in my dream, I admit that I hadn't considered their situation much at all lately, until their shouting woke me up. The earth is shouting too, with hurricanes and fires. In my dream, where people should be able to live comfortably in homes that don't blow down or burn up, the earth's loud cries remind me that there is a changing climate, and that this is something that goes along with that. I find myself sad or angry if I cling to my dream of what should be happening, or what America should be like. Having faith in divine order allows me to remember that how things appear now, during the midst of a transformation, is not what they will become. Accepting what is does not mean accepting that it will stay that way. Letting go of my attachment to a certain path to the promised land, when it is clashing with what is taking place at the current moment, allows me the opportunity to return to a space of ease and grace. Trusting in divine order does not excuse me from participating in holding out a vision. That's what prayer is for. We affirm all the time that God is expressing through us as us. As God in the world, it's my responsibility to participate fully in divine order. And we can't really help but participate one way or another. Yet if I want to be intentional and purposeful about it, I can step up and do my part. If something feels off about what's going on in the world, and I feel called to take action, be an activist, or support a political candidate, then I can prayerfully step up and do that. If I don't feel called to physically get in the fray of things, I might feel called to pray about it. If you feel so called, please spend time in prayer until you absolutely know that all is well and is unfolding exactly right, in spite of how it might look right now. If you find yourself fretting about the current state of things, and you are not called to take action, and you are not called to pray about it, then please go back to steps 1 or 2 and find a way to let it go and move your attention to what is yours to do. And if yours to do right now is to rest, to watch a movie, to read a book, then fully do that. Anything else is a needless distraction to your well-being in this moment. Now, there are times when experiencing some anxiety is a good thing. When we as human creatures are in situations where there are immediate and short-term risks to safety, it's good to be on a heightened state of alert and be ready to react on a moment's notice. If there's a whole lot going on for a long period of time, and there's nothing really to do about it at the moment, then it's not helpful or healthy to stay all revved up on adrenaline and cortisol. Our world has been going through major changes for a long time, at least most of this year so far. With elections coming up and everything we already know about, there's a good chance this period of transformation is going to last at least into the next year. This is a marathon, not a sprint. But life is a marathon. A practice of regular meditation would go a long way to reconnect with Source and help us to remind ourselves of the spiritual truths we sometimes lose sight of when so much is going on. Another aspect of prayer and meditation is to connect with divine guidance, however you do that. When much is changing in our world, it could be helpful to cultivate an ongoing state of mindfulness. And as Paul suggested to the Thessalonians, pray without ceasing. Personally, I will seek guidance before going out of the house or even making a doctor's appointment. If I have a question of whether it's a good time to try to pay off a credit card or make a commitment, I will seek an answer and wait for it. Following guidance doesn't exempt us from the human experience, including transformative times, but it can give us the confidence that we are in alignment with Spirit and in sync with our highest self. I find it to be the least bumpy road to travel on. And my motto is the less bumps, the better. To find ease and grace in times of transformation, start with accepting how things are in this moment. If I want to feel at peace, I will also find a way to compassionately accept myself in this moment. And not just me, but everyone who is frightened or angry or sad at all the changes they are either experiencing or denying, as we all move from what was normal to something else still ahead. At the same time, through faith, we can affirm that there is a divine order here. It's not always clear in each and every little detail, but overall, whatever is unfolding is God manifesting a new vision, a new creation. Looking at it that way can give us hope. It can allow us to see beauty even when on the surface things look really messy. And finally, we can make time for prayer and meditation. This will bring us strength when we need it, and it allows each of us to participate as one with divine will and divine mind in bringing forth the new reality which is in the process of becoming. Thank you.
The song that I'm singing is a chant, and it's very simple, so it's something that can help with the ease and the grace. You can learn it and sing it to yourself this week. Let it be easy. easy. Go with the flow. Let it be easy. God's will to know. Let it be easy. Follow your soul. When it is easy, God's in control. Let it be easy, go with the flow. Let it be easy, God's will to know. Let it be easy, follow your soul. When it is easy, God's in control.
Here we go, bringing our thankfulness into our donations and our gifts. We give and we give and we give, and then the universe, as God, gives back to us 10 times over, at least. So it's such a joy to give. Join me in saying our offering prayer. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you.
So we'll close with the peace song and then the prayer for protection. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And together we say, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.